if I'm confirmed, you would not be getting Justice Scalia, you would be getting Justice Barrett.
Do you think it is faithful to our democratic principles to fill a Supreme Court vacancy this close to an election?
I think that is a question for the political branches.
What's the precedent regarding the Affordable Care Act? Do you feel like you should recuse yourself from that case because you're being nominated by President Trump?
That's not a question that I could answer in the abstract.
So
I'm going to ask you some questions that if you had told me 5 years ago, that would be questions asked at a Supreme Court nomination hearing, I would have thought they wouldn't be possible. You condemn white supremacy, correct?
Yes.
Should a president commit themselves to the peaceful transfer of power?
Well, one of the beauties of America from the beginning of the Republic is that we have had peaceful transfers of power. It is part of the genius of our Constitution.
Will you commit to recuse yourself from any dispute that arises out of the 2020 presidential election?
I have had no conversation with the president or any of his staff on how I might rule in that case.
In the 2013 letter that you signed, there is the following statement: "We renew our call for the unborn to be protected in law."
It's really no more than the expression of a pro-life view.
Do you agree with Justice Scalia's view that Roe was wrongly decided?
I'm going to invoke Justice Kagan's description. She said that she was not going to grade precedent or give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
In 2006, you signed your name to an advertisement. It described Roe v. Wade as, quote, an exercise of raw judicial power, and called for putting, quote, an end to the barbaric legacy of Roe v. Wade. You signed a similar ad in 2013. I would suggest that we not pretend that we don't know how this nominee views a woman's right to choose.
Now, Senator Harris just called you a liar, that you've already made up your mind how you're going to vote on some cases. Are you a liar?
I am not a liar, Senator Kennedy.
You use the term sexual preference to describe those in the LGBTQ community. Sexual preference is an offensive and outdated term.
I would like to just make a quick follow-on to some of Senator Hirono's comments. I certainly didn't mean, and would never mean, to use a term that would cause any offense in the LGBTQ community. Saying that I couldn't opine on whether Obergefell was rightly decided or not, I was certainly not indicating disagreement with it. The point of not answering was to simply say it's inappropriate for me to say a response.
Do you think we should take the president at his word when he says his nominee will do the right thing and overturn the Affordable Care Act?
I can't really speak to what the president has said on Twitter.
Have you committed to the president or anyone else that you will vote to repeal the Affordable Care Act if confirmed by to the court?
Absolutely not. I was never asked, and if I had been, that would have been a short conversation.
Since you became a legal adult, have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
No, Senator Hirono.
Where are we today when it comes to the issue of race?
As we just talked about the George Floyd video, that racism persists in our country. I discussed, I am aware that there is evidence and that there have been studies of systemic racism or implicit bias in the justice system.
Is it illegal to intimidate voters at the polls?
Senator Klobuchar, I can't characterize the facts in a hypothetical situation. And
well, I'll make it easier. 18 U.S.C. 594 outlaws anyone who intimidates, threatens, coerces, or attempts to intimidate, threaten, or coerce any other person for the purpose of interfering with the right of such other person to vote. This is a law that has been on the books for decades.
Senator Klobuchar, if you continue to ask questions about super precedents that aren't on the list of the super precedents that I discussed in the article that are well acknowledged in the constitutional law literature, every time you ask the question, I will have to say that I can't grade it.
Okay. Well, I am then left with looking at the tracks of your record and where it leads the American people. And I think it leads us to a place that's going to have severe repercussions for them.